Hey guys, Putzelman 945 here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I am going to be doing another top 10 list, which I haven't done in a fair minute. And this top 10 is going to be my top 10 favorite worlds in all of fiction, slash top 10 pieces of fiction with the best world building. Now, um, Uh, this was a list that I wasn't even sure I would ever make, if I'm being completely honest, because I did the anime in world building and good lord, I don't even know how long ago was that. I feel like it was a fair while ago. Just see if I can. Oh, dang, yeah, it was all the way back in June. So, like, well, for 6 months ago. So, quite a long time ago, since I last made that video. And, I was kind of content with making that video, but, like, I don't know. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, I kind of want to make this video, and I kind of want to do it despite how hard it might seem. And so here we are. I'm doing it. So like I said, favorite worlds slash pieces of fiction I think has the best world building. It's a very general thing, and I would probably like interchange those two phrases when describing the things on this list a lot in this video. Especially for the anime that made it on this list as well. Um, but without that's enough yapping for me. Let's get into the list, where I will yap about the actual things on the list. At number 10 is Frieren. Um, so a lot of this is going to be like repeated reasoning for the animes from my uh anime world building video. Um but I think that this show has brilliant world building in the way that I think the way that you see time pass in Frieren is just absolutely masterful, and I think it really shows. I think it really like makes Frieren have fantastic world building because it it allows for this absolutely just insane like change, like visible change that you can notice, which I just think is so interesting. And it just it makes the world and the character's journey so interesting to follow when you just think about the timelines of a lot of what happens with characters and you compare that to Furin's own journey and you think about how the overall world and how it has evolved in the process and how time has passed. It's just super interesting and I think extremely well done. Um, Now at number nine, and this is why I said I would interchange them because um this is part of the reason I even had a hard time making this list is because I didn't even know if I wanted to include video games on this list, and yet I ended up doing it, which is why number eight goes to Skyrim. Um, Now obviously this explanation is to be a little bit different because it's a whole ass different medium from Frieren, because that's an anime and Skyrim is a video game. But um, hopefully you can stay with my explanation here. And if you'd rather use all media than all fiction, then go ahead if that makes this having video games on this list easier to like process or whatever. But um I love the world of Skyrim because it's just there is so much to it. There is so much like just exquisite detail. There is so much like care put into the history and the lore to it. And the fact that it is just all there to explore, I think just makes for such a fascinating like video game world in my opinion. Um Number 8 is Mushishi. Um Mushishi uh has incredible world building because the completely episodic format of it allows for each episode to explore a new concept of Mushi, and the way that exploring all those different concepts of the way Mushi work and just following Ginkgo's journey as he explores and explains and learns all these things at the same time. It just makes the overall world of Mushi so fascinating and so cool, even in spite of the fact that it's not ever like a combined thing ever. Um, Now number 7 is Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is probably, I think, the video game with the best world building. It's not my favorite like open world game in terms of exploration wise. It's a little bit of a different categorization for me. But like I think Hollow Knight is the game with probably the best atmosphere and world building because the entire kingdom of Hallownest is so massive, and I think even more, as much care that is given to Skyrim's history and lore, I think Hollow Knight does it better in terms of exploration and indirect world building because it 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 manages to it manages to create all of this stuff that you can find out and explore and learn. And you could also like look at an entire lore wiki guide about Hollow Knight. And while the lore guide might get you a little bit farther than just exploring, both of those options separately or together even would not get you even close to exploring the full depth of Hollow Knight's world and like the richness and variety of all the different kingdoms, the the secret pathways, um the like the remnants that like it used to be used or it was a great civilization. It is so interesting and it is so like brimming with fascinating potential. I just love it. Now number 6 is Berserk, and I think out of everything on this list, Berserk might be singularly the best at this concept of indirect world building. Because I think most everything on this list uses it in some way, and yet I don't think that there is anything on this list that it singularly excels in indirect world building as much as Berserk does. So, for people who don't know, the difference between direct and indirect world building. Direct world building is where you're very directly given bits of information and lore about how the world works. versus indirect world building, which is where all of those details are there, but they are not like proclaimed or made obvious in any sense um to a like consumer, whatever you want to call it, to whoever is consuming that piece of media, in this case reading Berserk. Um and because in Berserk you barely get in much information at all about like the state of the kingdom, like what the world of Berserk even looks like. Like I would say like 90% of the time more like 75% of the time in Berserk, you're like not even sure where exactly you are unless you're like explicitly within the kingdom, or like on a battlefield or something like that. Unless it's that, then like generally you have no clue where you are in the world preserve when you're reading it. Um, and and yet, um, and I'm gonna be specifically referencing the Black Swordsman arc for this because I think that's where my favorite example of this masterful indirect world building comes from because you know, I'm honestly just even like remembering the first pages of the manga. It's like, you know, you see Guts and he's just walking through town, and in not only is just the art is just so masterful that it like almost literally looks like a moving anime scene through still pages, which I can't even comprehend how that was possible to do. But you learn so much through just little details. And this is like this random insignificant town, by the way, that's like important in the Black Swordsman arc, and then you don't see it like ever again. And yet you learn that it is a state of extreme poverty. You learn that it's gonna corrupt like government system, and that is because it's like under attack by bandits, and you figure there's something deeper going on here, and then obviously you dig into that with what happens with you know the governor of that city, which I'm not going to spoil. It's oh good. I mean, as you can tell, Berserk is peak fiction. I'm wearing the shirt right now, but like that's what I'm talking about is like within the first couple pages, you're gonna pick up that much information about this one insignificant town that's never seen again, at least as far as I know, for the rest of the story. Um, Berserk just masterpiece. Um, Number five is Maiden Abyss. Now, Maiden Abyss, I think, is um an incredible mix of direct and indirect world building. It doesn't really use either one specifically, but I think it's got this incredible like basically 50-50 balance of both just being incredibly effective. Um, ah, which I thought for a second. Um, so in Main Abyss, uh you're introduced to like so many like you learn so much about like all the different layers and the species on them and what makes them function and how they work, which is the direct world building side, and I think it's done really well. And yet at the same time you also have the indirect side, which is like you're seeing all these creatures and fauna and that aren't explained. And also, I think the indirect world building worked so well because of the way that the cities are made. Um, and the city at the very top, it just like the indirect world building there is so good because you learn so much about their daily lives without a lot of information necessarily being directly explained to a viewer. Now, and and just yeah, like all the freaking lore is just it's so interesting. Just the Abyss in general is just it's such a finely crafted, detailed world, and I'm in love with it. Um, and number four, is The Witcher. Now, I think The Witcher has some of the coolest lore of any fictional world, in my opinion. I think all the stuff about the conjunction of the spheres and everything like that is just so is just it's really fascinating, and there's a lot of different like history, and there's a lot of really cool like world building as it pertains to the politics of each nation and such, and I think that that is also done really well. um and there's also a good amount of different races, and like learning the lore of the mysterious elves is really really cool as well. And yeah, for me the main thing that I love about The Witcher is just there is so much freaking awesome lore and pertaining to everything, to be honest. There's like so much history in the world of Witcher, which just makes it super interesting. Now, kind of obvious pick, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but like number three is One Piece. Um, this was number one on the anime list, and this should not be surprising at all because this is like possibly the most praised aspect of One Piece as a whole, and it's pretty fucking obvious why, at least to me. Um, because goddamn, there is so much good stuff in here. Um, now, there's so much I could say about One Piece, and yet there's also so much that's already been said. So honestly, all I'm gonna say for One Piece is I'm gonna reference the most recent chapter that came out, 1138. Now, if you don't know, this is kind of a shameless plug, but also not really. I made an entire video. When did I make it? What was it? Yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Where I for 30 minutes just rambled on about various One Piece theories I had. Now, again, I'm going to remind you that was a 30-minute video of me rambling about One Piece theories I have pertaining to certain parts of the story that wouldn't even be close to the end of it. If that does not tell you how absolutely goated One Piece's world building is, I don't know what fucking does. Like, there has been 11,000 plus, not 11,000, 1,100 plus chapters of this manga released, and almost the same number in anime episodes. Anime ain't even close to catching up with the manga yet. Like, and in this most recent chapter, 1,138, which is a very big number, we got possibly the biggest lore reveal in the entire series so far, which I am not like I really don't think I'm hesitating or underestimating anything that when I say it literally changes everything. Um, and that is just one giant ass war drop that happened in the most recent chapter. I'm not even referring to all the insane detail that goes into every single kingdom, every single people, all the history of One Piece and the lore that is still to be unlocked, all the morality of the Marines and the pirates and the way and the way that the relationship with the government and the people and all of that. We're not even mentioning any of that stuff. That's how goaded One Piece's world building is. Enough said. That's why it's number three on this list. But you will see with the top two why it is only number three on this list. Because, after all I said, you might think it's number one, but no. No, the top two have it beat quite handily, I would say, as much as I just gushed about One Piece. Because number two is Lord of the Rings. Um, Now, Lord of the Rings is more than just a war. Lord of the Rings, honestly, is basically its own universe because Lord of the Rings, out of anything on this list, like I praised The Witcher for having a lot of cool, interesting and history and whatnot. Yeah, no, Lord of the Rings throws that like beats that by fucking miles. Like it literally has an entire like it has the Silmarillion, which is basically a Lord of the Rings history textbook. Which, by the way, I fucking love the Silmarillion. It's a fantastic book. Um, uh, like the fact that even exists and it has like a full goddamn timeline for this entire fucking universe. And there's like four different ages that span thousands and thousands of years. And even before these ages, there's other like time periods, like the year of the lamps and the year of the two trees, which span even more time. And then there's time before that I don't even think is like documented in a proper time period name. And this is just talking about the entire like history timeline. I'm not even referring to all the different races and cultures that exist in this and how each of them have their own complex histories that tie into this overall timeline of Middle Earth. Um, it is incredible to me that you can have entirely different histories about entirely different ages about like how the dwarves were made and Caligon the Black, which is which is like the most powerful dragon. Um, and the fact in the history of the entire line of Stewart and Gondor. And all three of those things I just mentioned are completely separate things, each separated by thousands of years. Each. Um, and like all the songs that are in the books and like the insane descriptiveness of every single detail of every character environment in Lord of the Rings and the way that it's beautifully showed off in the movies is just it's so fucking brilliant. Um I like have a hard time even comprehending it sometimes. And Lord of the Rings would be an easy number one if the number one choice, Star Wars, never existed. But to be honest, when I was making this, and when I was even thinking about whether I wanted to do this or not, I knew like right away in my head that Star Wars was the instant number one pick. And you know why? Because Star Wars is not just a world. Star Wars is a an entire fucking galaxy with all different species and all different planets who all have their own histories and like most of which aren't even related to the Force by an inch. And then when you go into the Force stuff, like the Jedi and the Sith, bro, it's crazy. It's like I can't even fucking. It's literally like everything I said about One Piece and Lord of the Rings on absolutely fucking steroids. It's insane. Um, Star Wars takes the number one spot on this list easy. It's like when I was making when I like I said when I even when I was thinking about whether I even wanted to make this list, I knew that Star Wars was the easiest number one pick for this ever. Um, but yeah, that is gonna do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what pieces of fiction have your favorite world building, and I'm gonna go drink some water, and I will see you later. Bye.